In this video, I'm going to teach you how to set and view your work plane, add assets to a work plane, and then manipulate and view the assets to troubleshoot their location. So you can see here, I've got a view of our workspace perspective. And again, we're looking at this in Revit. We've got our Enscape plugin ready to go though. So as soon as we're ready to see a realistic rendering of how this space will look, all we have to do is push our button up here. But for right now, we have to set a work plane. Now, when you are placing Enscape assets, or you might hear me say family because I'm still trying to learn the new terminology, but when you are placing Enscape assets, you have to set the work plane first where you want the assets to go. Now, if you remember back to Revit, when you're placing Revit families, there are all different types of families. There's floor-based families, which will stick to a floor plan. And then if you remember when we applied sconces to the walls or lights to the ceiling, those were ceiling-based families or wall-based families, which means that the family itself was designed by the Revit operator to be hosted to a ceiling plane or a wall plane. Now, Enscape families are not designed that way. They are not automatically hosted to wall and ceilings. So as much as you think you might be maybe switching the work plane around to host sconces or sconces on the walls or light fixtures on the ceilings, you really don't in Enscape. They're all going to be kind of adjusted and manipulated to a single work plane. And so let's go ahead and set that now. You can set this in multiple views if you want. I'm going to just stick to this perspective for as long as I can. So let's go ahead and start by going to the architecture tab, and we're going to go over here where it says set, and this is going to set our work plane. So let's go ahead and click the set button, and we are going to pick a plane, and we'll hit OK. And I should be able to double click inside this rendering. Let's see if it'll let me. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to let me set this as my work plane. And so what I want to do is go back to architecture and make sure that I hit show and see how it turns light blue. That tells me that Revit knows that I want this to be the work plane and that I have selected it correctly. So that's totally good, ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead over to the design plan here, just because it'll be a little bit easier to see where I place objects next. So let's go ahead and click over to the design plan. It's right over here. You can see I've got some of my textures already showing. Remember how I changed the graphic qualities of that herringbone? Now you can see why that becomes so important. So we're going to go ahead and put a couple of assets over here in this corner. And let's go over to Enscape. We're going to go to our asset library. Now, remember, these are assets that are, as we say, out of the box. And so what you have to be careful of is, as you select your assets, just be mindful that the things that come up at the very top are the ones that are most popular and the ones that are going to be seen most frequently in renderings that you see. So you're going to want to try to find really unique ones within this asset list. So I'm going to search for chair and see what comes up. And there's a lot of different ones. So you know, we have, of course, the Revit one that matches what we have in there, of course, but we also have a bunch of other really unique chairs. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select this one. Now, when I hover over it, I have three buttons, the three dots to choose from, and I'm going to place the asset on the active work plane. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put this here. Now, if you don't see it right away, you might get a little flag or a little message here that says that it's not visible. If for whatever reason you can't see this on the drawing, what you need to do is, we're going to go back here. Sometimes it doesn't come up right away, so I have to minimize it. You might have to go ahead and hit your hidden elements, and then all you would do is just right click and unhide, and you can unhide the category, and that way it will show up. The first time when I was practicing it, I had my visibility turned off for my furniture, and so I wasn't able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to delete these placeholder ones that I put in Revit. And in a later class, you can start to link elements in Revit to Enscape assets. So I can, for example, show this in Revit, but link it to a different chair in the rendering. But for right now, I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. And I will mirror this. So I'm going to click on that asset, mirror, and I'm going to draw the axis here. You can see I'm letting it snap to 135 degrees. So it's going to mirror over right there. And that way it's still in the right place. It still leaves that corner nice and symmetrical. I'm going to delete this table here because that's the one that always comes in with Revit, and it's not the most exciting one in the world. So I've got a couple of chairs here. Let me go ahead and add some more things. I'm going to add now, let's look at what plants we can bring in. And I want a nice big one for that corner. So I'm going to keep scrolling down until I find the one I want. I'm going to pause for a second while they're loading. Okay, so I'm going to grab this plant and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to click it and get it to about the location that I want. And just like a Revit family, I can move it so that it's got a bit better symmetry within that corner. Okay, and I'm going to now go ahead and add in a rug. So same thing here. So you can see it says none of them are visible in the floor plan. And that's because this rug, it looks like it was actually designed to, maybe it was designed to host directly on a floor. And of course, I've got a layer on top of this because I've got wood. So just like we had to do in Revit when we were learning it, we need to go ahead and move that rug up. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just check and see if it's turned off, and it's not. And so now all we have to do is just go to view, create a section where we know our rug is, and then we're just going to move it up. So I'm going to go down to my section, and you can see if you zoom in, there's the rug right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it and move it up. I've got a lot of stuff in the way. I'm going to pause and clear this out and see if I can find the rug. Okay, and you can see I've got my rug, and all I'm going to do is just grab it and use my arrows to bring it up. You can also do it here as well. Okay, and then let's go back over to our floor plan view. Okay, and there's our rug. So all we have to do is just use the arrows to move it, or our mouse to move it. And this is a little rug, just to kind of enclose this area just a bit. And so that is ready to go now. And then I'm going to bring in a couple of little side tables. You can make the search a little bit more refined sometimes if you do, for example, round table or side table. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll bring this one in. So same thing, place it on the active work plane. Now you can see here, just while I'm waiting, you can see how fast my screen is moving and thinking, and how hard Revit and Enscape are working together. Now, I have a kind of an old computer, and so it takes a lot of power to run Enscape and Revit. And so just be aware that the more things that you add, the slower your computer is going to go. I like this table, but I actually think I'm going to hit the escape button because it's too big for over there. So I'm going to pause and find another one. But all you have to do if you grab something that you don't like is just hit the escape button and it'll send you back here. You can see here when I refine my search terms to side table, I got some smaller ones and I like this one now. I'm going to go ahead and place that on the work plane and we'll put it right over here. And then same thing, I want to go ahead and mirror that as well. So we will mirror that by drawing our line once again, and I'm letting it snap so that it's 135. We'll get that over there. It needs to be moved away from that door just a little bit, because actually, of course, for code, we need to make sure that we have 18 inches on that pull side. So I'm going to move all these just a little bit. And this is just modifying. All of these work the same here as they do within, Revit families themselves. So we can go ahead and shift this over. Okay, and now I want to go ahead and add some sconces and some other elements of lighting that, again, we would typically want to see hosted to a wall if they were a wall hosted family in Revit. But here again, we don't have that option. So let us go ahead and place some sconces here. I'm going to look under lighting. When I searched for sconces earlier, I didn't really get a lot of great options. And so unfortunately, I decided to just load all of the lighting, and then I can scroll down to see what I want to use. So the sconce that I want to use is this one, and we'll go ahead and again place that on the active work plane. And that way we can start to see it. Okay, and we'll go ahead and put it kind of right there for now. And it's going to be on the floor, probably. Let's go ahead and take a look at our view. Yep, there it is, right down there. So same thing here, you can click on it and use your arrows. We know it's on the floor, but it's stuck to that wall. We can go ahead and change this to, let's say, about 66 inches. And hit the apply button, and it should pop up right about that height. So because it's not in an area or a path of egress, it doesn't need to be higher up for code, but instead we can just kind of keep it low. And we're going to also put a piece of art there as well. So once again, we're going to go to our asset library. And there's not great art within Enscape at the moment. Now, there's ways of applying an image to a frame or an extrusion within Revit. But if you just want to get something really quick, just to kind of be as a placeholder, you can select from accessories, and there's two here. We're going to put these both on, but for that part, I'm going to just, I'm going to go ahead and put this one on the chair to the left, above the chair to the left, and then this one above the chair to the right. So again, place it on the active work plane. You can place it here, or you can place it on the plan. My poor Revit's thinking awfully hard. We'll put it there. And then all I'm going to do is just, I'm going to take a look at the plan. You can see I've got some extra rugs around here that I'll delete. And I'm going to take a look at the plan and see where that piece of art is. Okay. So it's all the way back here. So we just have to move it back. And then we'll move it up. And I'm going to look at my perspective. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, again, keep in mind, there's really no end to the amount of art and accessories and things that you can add to your rendering, but it's really just, again, just trying to be mindful more and more of the weight and the size and how much it's going to slow down your computer. I'm going to add one more element to show you here in this video, and then I'm going to start to modify the locations just a little bit. So the last thing that I'm going to do is go over to lighting once again. And I'm going to grab a pendant light. Okay, and then actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, I don't know that it necessarily landed right there. I'm going to hit the escape button and I'm going to grab this on the floor plan view. Unfortunately, it does not host to the ceiling, but that's okay. I can see it better and control its location a little bit better here. So we'll grab that again. Now, you won't be able to see it here. And you won't be able to see it here, right? Because it's not a hidden element. The reason why you can't see it is because the cut plane is not set correctly. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in that section view. We ought to be able to see it. There's our pendant right there. Oh, and there's two of them. Let's go ahead and delete the extra one. And let's move this one up. I'm just using my arrow buttons. And this doesn't have an escutcheon plate, you know, the cylindrical flat thing that connects and covers the wiring to the ceiling, unfortunately. It's not really accurate. Most pendant lights would have that, but this one doesn't. You could create one pretty easily in Revit by just doing an extrusion and applying a metal finish to it, but we're going to leave it for right now. Okay, let's take a look at our workspace perspective. Okay, that's looking pretty great right now. Now you can see most things are not rendering exactly right because again, this is a rendering in Revit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time making sure that the sconces are mirrored on either side of the artwork. The artwork itself is centered above each chair and then looks the same on both walls. And then once I have that all set, then I'm going to hit my Enscape and I'm going to pause, or pardon me, resume. And my rendering itself should be created. So we just can hit this button and then we will have a beautiful rendering of Revit produced, pardon me, a beautiful rendering in Enscape produced that looks like this.